We have just returned from the inaugural sailing of Margaritaville at Sea Islander. After becoming the worst reviewed cruise line with its first ship, Paradise, the big question is whether Islander is going to rebuild this cruise line's reputation and become the go-to for short cruises from Florida. I will go over the good, the bad, and the very ugly of our cruise so you can decide if it's a great cruise option for you or if you should stay away from it. And my last point is what made the biggest impact on the decision we made for ourselves, and I have not heard anybody else talking about it. And since this cruise was not sponsored or given to me for free by Margaritaville at Sea, well, frankly, because they have no clue who I am, I don't have to pretty anything up. I'm going to give you my honest, brutal opinion of what we thought. The ship's condition was where we saw the biggest swings from things that were really nice to things that made us absolutely miserable. So let's start with the good. I would say that the decor was the best part of the ship. If you see any pictures on social media, you can see that the ship has been absolutely redone and it's very social media friendly. It has a beautiful atrium, a lot of wood. That flip-flop is a great spot for a memorable photo. And I have to say, one thing that was strange was the green pool in the middle of the ship. In fact, it kind of looked like a swamp on the first day. And you know, you learn as a kid, don't swim in a pool that has green water. But I get it. It's a statement piece. From what I understand, it was supposed to look like a margarita flowing out of the blender. Interestingly, the water was a lot clearer on the last day of the cruise, so I'm not sure if there was a problem with the water on the first day or what happened, but the margarita did clear up in that pool. Most things on the ship have been updated. From the look standpoint, it did not feel like a 20-year-old ship. To quickly cover a few things that were kind of bad, but more strange than anything, and which the first thing was, I kept wondering, who decided what to upgrade and what to keep original on the ship? Here's some examples. How do you have a used, rusty toilet brush in our cabin on an inaugural sailing? Here's another one. We saw old yellow toilet seats in public restrooms. I mean, how much does it cost to replace a toilet seat? Now, most of those things are not a big deal, so let's get to the real problems we encountered.
Boy, here we go.
The first one would be toilets not functioning correctly throughout the ship. This was not confined to any one specific area. We did see that more toilets were affected on lower decks, where whole restrooms would be out of order with overflowing toilets, but we did also have problems on deck 6. In our cabin, we had to flush the toilet 2-3 times, and it would make these horrendous sounds that I told my son it reminds me of Rancor and Star Wars. The next big problem we had was air conditioning, which seemed to break at the most inopportune times. The first time, it got shut off for hours during day 2. Next time, it shut off in the middle of the night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, and we spent a few hours with our door propped open just to get some air from the hallway where they actually had air conditioning. Our neighbors did the same thing, and you could see our room was completely covered with humidity. Everything was wet. When the air conditioning did work, it did not keep up with the temperature. The only time our room was cool is when it was storming and cooler outside. Otherwise, even when the sun wasn't on our balcony side, it was uncomfortably hot. Another big problem we had in our room was that our balcony door was not airtight. So throughout the day and the night, we had this howling sound of wind, and I could not sleep even with earplugs in. Here's a clip of what it sounded like. Next problem we encountered was the door locks and the keys. On the first day, we spent about 3.5 hours with 4 separate trips to the customer service desk to try to get them to reprogram our keys and twice reprogram the door. And by the way, there was a huge line of other people whose keys were not working either. On the evening of the first day, we gave up on our door working and we just stayed in. On the second day, we had to go back to the customer service desk, and then we had to spend a couple hours in our room while they were trying to fix our door. By the way, my key still never worked. not any bar, not a disembarkation. When I went off the ship and back on, they had to punch my room number into their system to make sure that I am who I say I am. Wi-Fi was another pretty big problem because in this day and age, many people need to stay connected, and Wi-Fi really did work about half the time, and the customer service line for the internet service was lined way back with so many people whose Wi-Fi was not working either. Now, I hear some people saying, well, it was an inaugural cruise, so you should expect that they don't have everything together yet. I completely agree. We went on Icon Inaugural a few months ago, you know, that big ship that everybody compared to Titanic because it was just outrageous, and they did not have nearly the same number of problems. Now, some of the things that I'm about to cover, I can see how they can improve on them faster. However, can they improve on mechanical and functional problems of a 20-year-old ship fast enough? I frankly don't know. If you know, let me know in the comments. And also, let me know, do you think I am overreacting on these things, or would you be bothered by them too? Cruising and good food go hand in hand. So let's talk about the food on the Islander. We got to experience all the specialty dining and all the free dining options on this ship, and I will be putting out another video. I'll link it up here and in the description that you can see everything that there is available to eat. So let's start with the good of the food options. JWB Prime Steakhouse food was absolutely amazing. The filet at the steakhouse was the most tender I've ever had. Cheeseburger in Paradise is one of the best included food options. It was juicy, it had many toppings available, so you can really make it your own. Sushi was excellent. It is $10 a roll, and we both had unlimited dining package, so we got $50 to spend, and we made it our dinner, and we could not finish 4 rolls in that dinner. The main dining room was a place where the food was generally good, everything we tried. Now, we did eat in mostly specialty dining restaurants, but as a general rule, things we tried and main dining room was good. The pizza was decent. It was like a normal ship pizza. The bad part was that most of the times when you walked by it was empty with a long line of people waiting for it. And I don't know why, but every night they happened to burn the pizza to the point where there was smoke smell through that part of the buffet, which was obviously not the most appetizing smell.
Sounds good to us.
Well, there were some really ugly things too. The first one was we were shocked at how limited the buffet food was. We're used to Royal Caribbean, where even on smaller ships, you'll have a number of stations with multiple types of food choices, a huge salad bar with everything you'd want on a salad, and a large variety of desserts. On the first day on the ship, my son and I walked by the first station, and it did not look really appealing, so he said, well, let's walk further. And as we walked, I realized that's all there is to it. That is the buffet. It's just repeated several times throughout that room. So what you had was one setup with 2 to 3 choices of protein. Usually they would have the meat, chicken, or fish, side, and a veggie. There was usually some salad available, but it's only had about 5 or so items to add to the salad. And then the dessert station mostly had jello, some strange cakes, and at one time there was a bowl of some pudding that looked like somebody brought it to a potluck dinner. Now, for people who are particular with their tastes, they might have a hard time finding something they like. Another problem we had in the buffet was that most of the room we tried was cold. There was a lot of conversations in our Facebook group for the sailing about food not being properly warmed and kept in unsanitary condition. A number of people commented that they got sick. Unfortunately, my son and I both did get sick about an hour right after we ate one of the meals, and we spent the whole night sick. And combined with non-working toilets, I'm just gonna leave that story there and let your imagination take over.
Do not go in there. Woo!
The main dining room was better, but not in comparison to most of the ships that I've been on. I'm used to the opulence and rich decor of Royal Caribbean ships. The atmosphere here felt like a windjammer on a royal ship. I also found that there was zero personal communication with waiters. On Royal Caribbean, we would usually get to know the waiters. They would be very friendly, chatting with you. Here, we just had people take our order and leave without saying much at all. When discussing service on a cruise ship, I rarely say anything bad about service personnel. I know how hard those crew members work, and they work 7 days a week, 6 to 7 months out of the year to make our vacations better. So I really appreciate all the hard work that they're putting in. On this ship, the good thing was that everybody was so hospitable, so friendly. Everybody was smiling no matter what they were dealing with. And frankly, we felt bad for them many times because of the circumstances that they had to deal with. In fact, I heard later that they were on the ship for only a week before the sailing, which sounds like a very short amount of time. It would take you a week just to get used to the ship on a cruise. The bad items on this list are absolutely not the crew's fault. The ship was noticeably understaffed, and many crew members appeared to lack the proper training for the jobs that they were hired for. One example was the customer service desk, which in spite of its size was usually handled by just one person. And on that first day, when we had to go there 4 times and spend most of our afternoon in line, there was a line that wrapped all the way around the hallway and elevators, and still just one person handling all the people that had problems. The bar service was very understaffed. In bars, you could often wait for 20 to 30 minutes to get a drink because they would have one bartender handle a really busy bar. There was also no consistency in the actual drinks, which is what makes me think about poor training, because I got the same cocktail in several bars and they were completely different drinks. Entertainment on the ship definitely caters to the followers of the brand. I like Jimmy Buffett music, and we often play it at our pool parties. They had a lot of interesting covers of popular songs playing with this Margaritaville spin on them. Some of them were really good, others were more like, they should have just left it alone. But to address the good parts of the entertainment options, they had great music performances, of course, as expected. They did have a funny comedian, and there was supposed to be a magic show, but it was canceled due to weather. On the bad side, compared to other cruise lines, we felt like there was very little choice for entertainment because music was pretty much it.
Oh Lord, here we go again.
On Royal Caribbean, for example, at a similar price range, we could see Broadway-style theater productions, voice impersonators, ventriloquists, ice skating shows, acrobatic water shows. So I did feel that the entertainment options were rather limited. Now keep all of the above points in mind as I go to this next point, because this point is not the good, the bad, or the ugly. It's just a fact. Many people say that this is going to be a game changer for the short Bahamas cruises, and that this is a budget cruise line, so you get what you pay for. But the question is it a budget cruise line? 4-night cruises to Bahamas in off-season in September of this year, and here's what it costs to sail an Islander, while here are some prices from other cruise lines for 4 days to compare it to. And I'm looking at Independence of the Seas, which is slightly larger than Margaritaville, Allure of the Seas, which used to be the largest ship in the world until Icon Class just came out a couple months ago, MSC Seashore, and Celebrity Reflection. So as you can see, the Islander is far from a budget cruise. So that brings us to the ultimate question. Should you book this cruise, and would you like it? And I can honestly say that this is going to be different for everybody. If you're a die-hard Jimmy Buffett fan and you want that Margaritaville experience, absolutely this is probably going to be the best chance to do it because no other ship provides it, and you will probably like the cruise in spite of all these other things. Also, if you live in Tampa and you absolutely want to cruise out of Tampa, as of right now, as they fix these problems, I think it's going to be a better offer than most of the ships that are sailing out of that city right now that are smaller, older from other cruise lines. With that said, if you're not a huge Margaritaville fan and you're just looking for a good deal, I would definitely urge you to compare your options and look at what you're getting on the ship as far as food, entertainment, your options, as well as what it costs you to go, and then decide if it's right for you. And by the way, I just did a video on Freedom Class ships from Royal Caribbean, which are also about 20 years old, discussing whether they're still good to go on this year. And you can watch that video right here.